Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
We don't feel that that the law is right in this respect, that we are not doing anyone any harm by being open. We are doing no harm. What proof is there that we've harmed anyone?
I'm working for a government agency and we're enforcing regulations during an epidemic.
Well, we're not closing. You have been stood here the whole time without a mask on, and you're walking around the shop before we got here without a mask on.
There was nobody else in here.
Okay, I will be reporting you for the consideration for the question of prosecuting you for failing to wear a mask
Fine, do
under
that.
current legislation. We will need something from you before we can leave. The only other option after that is to arrest you.
Go on, arrest me then.
I don't want to arrest you. If we can find something here, we will find something.
Just arrest me.
I'm back here in Droitwich to speak to Lydia and Alistair, who run Grace Cards and Books. Now, we spoke to them a couple of months ago about their case, and they've got a very promising update to share with us. So let's see what they have to say about that. This is a case which is very close to my heart. This is a lovely couple who are just trying to stay open and survive, as it were, in these very troubling times. Now, the history of their case is effectively that during the first lockdown, they closed when they were given money to do so. But in the second lockdown, they felt that that would be like taking a bribe or being paid to go along with something which they thought would be unethical. As a result, they've been hit with a shockingly high fine, followed subsequently by a number of others, the highest being 10,000, now altogether totaling around £20,000 in fines. Now, they're fighting this case, but it's not going to be easy. This is unprecedented. We're in uncharted waters here. This is a sort of case which has never really been taken to court before, so this is going to be very difficult for them. So it's been about 2 months, just under 2 months since I last visited you.
Yeah.
What's happened since then?
Yeah, so we stayed open all over the Christmas period running up to actually Christmas Day, and then had a few days off, Christmas and New Year. And then I think this third lockdown possibly started on the 6th of January, I think. We opened for how many days before we were, for 1 day?
1 day.
1 day before the authorities came back and just wanted to, gave us another prohibition notice to close with immediate effect. So
they were quite quick off the mark then.
Oh, yes.
As soon as there was a third lockdown, you were top of the list down here to make sure that you're not opening and selling cards or anything like that.
Yeah.
But you had a visit from the police and a lady from the council, did you not?
Yes. So we had 2 police officers and a lady from the council, same lady who came, who's come a couple of times before, to announce that we needed to be closed and to give us another notice.
Well, you sent me a video of that encounter, and it was quite sort of bolshy and a lively discussion.
We are enforcing legislation as per our job. You have your entitlement if you don't believe that it's correct, and that's your entitled opinion. But we are coming here to do our jobs, and that's it. We're not here to write legislation. We're not here to address it.
Yeah.
That's the government that you need to go to if you don't believe the legislation they've put is right.
Which I don't, no.
So that's not something that we can address for you.
I mean,
That's something you need to go to the government.
Yeah, but this lady here is from the health department of Wych Haven District Council, so you would think that I would be able to discuss health issues with her. Okay, you're the police, you're doing your job of enforcement, but this lady here should be able to tell me why we are a health hazard in this shop compared to, say, Morrison's, where you are squashed together with people when you do your shopping. You know, this shop, you can spread out. We don't have a great deal of people in here all the time. I can't see the proof of being a health hazard. And that's the grounds on which you're telling us to close.
Yeah, I think the whole point is that we're in a lockdown, which is stay at home. So the government will want people to stay at home and go out for essential things. So obviously you need to go out for food and all these other things. But, you know, you don't need to go out and get cards.
But why do you go to a garden centre then for essential things? It's not even spring, summer when everyone's gardening. So tell me what basis then? What is essential about webs?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
See, this is where we come.
Yeah,
Stop.
because
You haven't answered my question.
No.
I've asked you what is essential about webs.
Because I don't make the legislation.
Yeah, so this is what we come to all the time. You're the
decide.
health department. You should know the answers to these
I'm
questions.
not the health department. I work on behalf of Whithaven Council.
Yeah, but that's your job. You're meant to know what you're talking about.
I do know what I'm talking
Yeah, but
about.
you don't. You can't explain to me why our shop is a health hazard, and that's the grounds on which the government are saying that we should close.
The reason is because current legislation says you are a restricted business,
I
which
know.
means you must close. That's the line.
Yeah.
Okay. They are here to enforce it.
That's
so
fine.
are we.
The
That's
line
it.
for us.
That's the line.
The line for us is that we don't agree with it. Well, anything we say is irrelevant, isn't it? It just comes down to black and white rules and regulations. We can't talk to a real person and get to the bottom of what is going on here. So what can we say?
I mean, we're as Jen said, we're enforcing the regulations, and in the regulations, you are not allowed to be open in this lockdown, and that's the only that's the reason we're here. Because every other, not the majority of other businesses have closed, and they're losing money every day and all the rest of it. But
yeah, it's easy for you to say that, isn't it?
it's not
really
easy for me to say.
Yeah,
it is. I have to deal with this business
I mean,
all the time.
if when the rubber hits the road, if it was you who didn't have a job and you can't provide for your family and you can't pay your bills, then it would be different, wouldn't it? We're coming from a completely different angle.
But that's it's almost like a personal conversation we're having, and I'm not you running this business. I'm working for a government agency, and we're enforcing regulations during an epidemic.
Well, we're not closing.
I believe at one point she threatened to arrest you for not wearing a mask, and you quite boldly said, well, go on then, arrest me.
Yeah.
But she didn't, did she?
No.
You have been stood here the whole time without a mask on, and you're walking around the shop before we got here without a mask on.
There was nobody else in here.
Okay, I will be reporting you for the consideration for the question of prosecuting you for failing to wear a mask
Fine,
under
do that.
current legislation. So you do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention now something which you later on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence.
Great.
Do you wish to make a reply?
Not really.
Okay. Have you got some kind of ID with you that I can take your ID from to fill out the ticket?
No.
You don't have any form of ID, a bank card, any kind of
No,
driving
I
licence
don't.
or nothing with you?
No, nothing.
Have you got a letter on here addressed to you so that we can verify that your name and an address here?
Nope.
Okay. We will need something from you before we can leave. The only other option after that is to arrest you.
Go on, arrest me then.
I don't want to arrest you. If we can find something
Fine.
here, we will find something.
Just arrest me.
So they went away that day and came back later with a prohibition notice. Yeah.
And they were basically saying you have to close,
Yes.
or you're going to be fined, arrested possibly. Basically the full force of the law will come down on you if you don't.
Yes.
But we do have some good news, of course, which is this letter.
Yeah.
From Lies.
Yeah.
Could you just tell me what does it exactly say?
Yeah, so this is an amazing letter that's been written by Fight the Fines. So it really goes on the offensive. There's nothing defensive at all about this letter, which is just great. I love it. So it's just like, our clients are essential on the basis of X, Y, and Z. We think that they fit into, a newsagent category, plus they sell food. So you could, and they point out that that there's overlap there. It's all very vague as regards, who falls into what category, and the fact that we sell Christian publications and newspapers. She points out there that there's a bit of discrimination going on there. Why can't we sell? Why can't that be considered as sort of in the newsagent bracket?
Yeah.
Christian news. So
because if you want to go around the corner to the newsagents there and buy a magazine about a car or the Beano or something, that's fine. But if you want to come here and buy a Christian one, that's not allowed. I mean,
Not allowed.
that would be, I think, the definition of discrimination, really. But,
and they point out that we will take it further, and she also points out that we've had lost earnings because we've been closed now we've been closed now for a week. So if they want to take it further, that's fine, and that we'll have lost earnings on top of everything else as well.
Right, so damages and all the rest of it.
Yeah, our Christian publications are here.
Right.
So we have monthly newspapers, magazines, sort of daily Bible notes, that kind of thing.
So this sort of thing. I mean,
So
if you want to talk about being a newsagent, that looks to me
that's
like a
just
newspaper.
that's a newspaper.
You're selling newspapers.
Whoa.
We've got loads of them here. Business has been closed from the 13th of January 2021 in compliance with the prohibition notice. However, now that the business has had the opportunity to take legal advice, it is clear that the business did not need to close and that it has a claim against the council for loss of profits as a result of your serving an invalid notice. That's very, very much on the offensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a very strong start.
Yeah.
And it then goes on to say, even if a correctly drafted and valid notice had been served, we contend that the goods on sale entitle the business to be classed as a newsagent, and any correctly drafted prohibition notice would nevertheless still be invalid.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's a very strong opening,
It is.
isn't it? You know,
It is.
Yeah.
business is properly categorised as a newsagent, of course, because you sell newspapers, publications. I mean, how else do you define a newsagent? We were discussing this earlier. You know, do you have to sell daily papers, weeklies, monthly? I mean, it's such an arbitrary term.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
But the fact that you sell publications regularly as part of your business and also food and drinks and all manner of things,
Yeah.
really nothing different to what the big chain round the corner
That's
is
right.
saying.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so do you expect that you'll get a sort of a backpedaling from the
Well,
council?
we're hoping for that.
Hopeful, yeah, that
Really
would be nice,
hoping,
wouldn't
you
it?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they backtrack and say, well, actually, we've made a terrible error and you can open. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, we sell newspapers, we sell food, we sell essential products. It's just that, in their opinion, we don't seem to sell enough of them to warrant being essential, so we can remain open.
But that's, you know, for them, that's a technicality. But for you, that's your entire life.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's your livelihood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because they have failed to properly define what an essential business is or consider that certain things that you sell might be essential, you are, you know, your life hangs in the balance, as it were.
Yeah, and this is all open-ended. This lockdown is open-ended. We haven't been given a exact date of when it's going to stop.
We've got Mother's Day coming up, we've got Easter coming up. Last year, Easter was cancelled because of the first lockdown, and it looks like it might be this year as well. You know, we've got stock lined up, waiting to sell, you know, and it's there, and we can't sell it because we're shut.
We're in fairly new territory. It's not so common for such a large number of fines to be passed out to a single person or organisation within such a short period, and as we know, COVID legislation is very new. If they don't pay the fines, and as indicated, we've written on their behalf to the council to say they've got no intention of paying these fines, they've chosen to stay open, then at some point a summons will be issued to the magistrates court. The magistrates courts are extremely busy at the moment, and COVID has certainly got in the way. A lot of court staff have to work remotely, and the courtrooms have got to be cleaned down between every hearing, and it really can take some time. So in my experience in the past, where a summons would normally somebody will be in court within a couple of weeks, it's now taking sometimes a month or 2 months for the first hearing to take place. But that's after the summons has been issued. So it may take weeks or even a couple of months for the summons to be issued. The information's got to be placed by the council before the magistrates court, who then issue a summons. So it could really be quite a few weeks or even months until a first hearing. If at that first hearing they indicate that they intend to challenge these notices, it will progress to a trial. And it's always been the case of Grace Cards that they've diversified and are selling food and beverages where they hadn't done in the past, and they also sell newspapers. In particular, they specialise in religious Christian newspapers, and there is some dispute with the council at the moment as to whether or not they can be considered as a newsagent.
We wouldn't be able to have their support, we wouldn't have them writing these letters if it weren't for the people at home who are donating so generously to help you and others like you to fight these very sort of injudicious and very arbitrary actions.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we didn't even know that people did that kind of thing. You know, I mean, supporting something like this, it's just incredible. Yeah, it really is.
And there are people across the world supporting
Yeah.
you two
It's-
here.
It's just, it
Yeah.
blows you away to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sort of restores your faith in humanity, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
And these guys, they know what they're doing as well. You know, they're a good set of guys to use. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we absolutely couldn't do it without your help at home. If you want to chip in, support and donate to help people like Lydia and Alistair, you can go to fightdefiance.co.uk and support us there. I've just spoken to Lydia and Alistair, who run Grace Cards and Books. Now, they're very happy about the letter that we sent off and they're hoping for good results. Hopefully the council will just withdraw the charges, but they're not out of the woods yet. You can help them and others like them at fightdefiance.co.uk.